This is full synthetic coming at you like 40 going north. This video is all about letting nature take its course. I'm not implying that we have any choice in the matter, for Mother Nature cannot be swayed by mere mortals such as ourselves. But what I am suggesting is that we stop trying to sway others in our midst from standing in direct violation of the laws of nature, meaning liberals of every kind. For eventually nature, like karma, will take its course, and they will be humbled by the consequences of their own unnatural behavior. This may not happen as quickly as we might like, but justice will surely be served. For example, if a large group of people decided to start using the Grand Canyon as their garbage dumpster, there will be consequences for committing this crime against nature. The most immediate consequences will be losing a beautiful national park and some pretty hefty fines for littering in a national park. Future consequences may involve the trash filling the canyon completely and that trash eventually finding its way to where we live. There may also be other unseen future ramifications for using the canyon as a landfill, such as the pollutants eventually finding their way into adjacent waterways. But no matter how you slice it, there would be consequences for such crimes against nature. Normal humans that would find this behavior to be reprehensible and disgusting would probably wish to see the consequences delivered far more swiftly to these malicious polluters. Perhaps maybe a lightning bolt striking them down as they are dumping their trash into the canyon. But nature does not work that way. Sometimes the wheels of justice turn very slowly, but they do turn. Like God, nature works in mysterious ways. So does human nature. For example, the average American would not mind chipping in a small percentage of every dollar earned to help someone in need. Perhaps a child in desperate need of a heart or kidney transplant, or maybe to care for disabled veterans, abused or orphaned children, or the elderly. Most humans are compassionate enough to realize the importance of helping those in need. But when this compassion becomes abused, taken for granted, and even weaponized against the compassionate by a corrupt government, and those complicit in knowingly electing that corrupt government into power, then it becomes a crime against nature. And when that same government becomes emboldened enough to start extorting that money through forced taxation from the compassionate working class citizens of its own population and directing those funds to the criminals who have knowingly elected these communists into power, then this government is also guilty of another crime against nature in the form of tax slavery. And when this government and the criminals who have knowingly elected them into office use the money extorted from the compassionate, hardworking citizens of its own population to fund the invasion of the country itself by a bordering country for the sole purposes of lowering labor costs for corrupt employers, replacing the culture and demographics of the existing majority of the population, funding movements and organizations which encourage the social and political unrest of the country, the murder of unborn children, destroying the traditional American family, and even targeting the majority of that country's population for genocide, then, needless to say, there are even more widespread crimes against nature being perpetrated in epidemic proportions. Eventually, there will be consequences for these crimes against nature. What these ramifications will be and when they will happen is anyone's guess. Only Mother Nature herself knows when and how it will happen, but rest assured it will happen. With the threat of each and every government shutdown, and with every protest and riot we see, we drift closer and closer to that day of reckoning, when this corrupt system of governance can no longer sustain itself because the cost of the social programs finally outweigh the tax dollars being extorted in order to sustain them. The whole system will collapse. This is one foreseeable and unavoidable consequence that will surely come from liberalism. And when it happens, the consequences will come swiftly and harshly, and the compassion that was once so freely given by polite society will be completely exhausted. It is then that these once civilized, hard-working, God-fearing citizens will be forced to become who they truly are. The blood and the spirits of our ancestral lineage will begin to manifest themselves in the hearts and the souls of the forgotten Americans. The Spartans and Roman gladiators and Viking berserkers and Celtic warriors of centuries past will rise once again from the pages of history and defend their lands and their cultural inheritance with a fierceness the world has never known. We will be outnumbered, but like the Spartans at Thermopylae, we only need a few to their many. They do not have the heart or the spirit or the intellect to defeat us. They have been relying solely on the tax dollars of the hard-working citizens of this country for their survival. By and large, these degenerates have no real survival or agricultural skills or military training of any kind. They will essentially be attacking the very hands that have been feeding them for the last 5 or 6 decades. All compassion towards them or unwarranted guilt from our own success will be dead. They will be drunk enough and desperate enough and stupid enough to attack us. But once they have tasted the overwhelming wrath of our defenses, they will cower with empty stomachs and broken wills. And we will take back our fair share of this country. Perhaps not all of it, but enough of it, and we will survive, perhaps even thrive into the future. So do not waste your energy trying to debate or enlighten these feminists, cultural Marxists, communists, and liberals. Most of them are well aware of how wrong they are and are knowingly voting for all the wrong people for the sake of increasing their own entitlements, all at the expense of the taxpayer. They justify their actions with imaginary excuses involving imaginary oppressors, and those who aren't are just brainwashed to the point of being mentally ill. Even if you could succeed in showing them how they have been brainwashed and duped into this self-destructive ideology, they will be too ashamed to admit that they were dumb enough to have been brainwashed or duped in the first place, and they will stubbornly cling to their liberal ideas. There is just no saving them from their own pathological altruism. It has to be an inside job. Only a liberal can save his or herself from their own dangerous ideologies. And by the time the day of reckoning happens, it will be too late. A line will have already been drawn in the sand. The best thing a red-pilled or right-leaning American can do is to relocate as far away from the inner cities as possible. Begin prepping. Start growing your own food supply. Get your solar panels. Stockpile your ammunition and non-perishable food items, and get your own house in order before that day of reckoning arrives. And until then, just let nature take its course. In the meantime, live your life to its fullest. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. Let them wallow in the defeat of Bernie and Hillary in the last election as you continue to make a better life for yourself. Feminists and liberals of every kind hate to see men like us living well and enjoying life to its fullest. Thank you all for watching. Please smash that like button, subscribe, share, and feel free to leave a comment. Have a great day, gentlemen.